Jesus Christ is Lord. Just a short devotion today. Let us have a look at Revelations chapter 3, verse number 20. It reads thus: Behold, I stand at the door and knock. If anyone hears my voice and opens the door, I will come into him and dine with him, and he with me. Now, let's have a closer look at these verses. So, the first word, what we find in this Bible is, it says, behold. Now, there are quite a number of people that when they are having problems, they say, where is Jesus? Where is the Lord in this situation? The problem is they don't look. Behold means look, check. They don't check. They just look at the situation. They look at the problem. They don't look at Jesus. They don't look at what Jesus is doing around him if he is not in him. Because if Jesus is in him or is in you, you will know what's happening. You will not worry. Like Paul and Silas, when they were in jail having been beaten, what they did at night? They praised God. They sang songs of praise because they knew exactly what was happening. Jesus was in them. But right now, this verse says, behold. And it says, I stand at the door and knock. Now, Jesus is standing at the door and Jesus is knocking. Now, imagine you are sick or you've got a problem. There is a doctor that needs to come in. If you don't open the door, are you going to be healed? The answer is no. You won't get help because the door is closed. Now, Jesus says, behold. So look at the door. Look at him. You can't see him right now because he's at the door. He is outside your life. But you can hear the knock. Because you can hear the knock, you are lucky. Right now, as I'm talking to you, Jesus is knocking at the door, at your door. And what is this door that Jesus is talking about? Jesus is talking about sin. He wants to come to your life, but sin is blocking him from entering into your life. We find that in Isaiah 59 verse number 2, that sin blocks our prayers. It stops us, or it makes God not to hear us. In the Garden of Eden, when they had sinned, chapter 3 of Genesis, I think it's verse number 9, where God was asking Adam, where are you? That only happened after they had sinned. That's why I am saying this door that Jesus is talking about, he is talking about sin. As long as you don't get rid of that sin, Jesus remains outside the door, but he is knocking because he loves you. He is knocking because he wants to heal you. If you look at the Bible, everyone who got healed had to come to Jesus, except that instance where the parent had to ask on behalf of the child or the sick person, because that person was not able to be with Jesus. Maybe it's your child who is sick. Maybe your relative who cannot walk, who cannot do anything by himself or herself, but you are able to come closer to Jesus, but you have closed Jesus outside with your sin. Now, Jesus wants to come to you. Now, if we continue with this very same verse, it says, if anyone hears my voice and opens the door. Now, if Jesus points out the sin to you and you confess it because he wants you to open up. That's why he says, opens the door. You must open up with him and tell him everything you did that was not pleasing to him. Then he is able to come in to you. Once he is into you, first of all, you hear this, and he says, anyone who hears my voice. Now, faith comes by hearing. We find that from Romans chapter 10, I believe to verses 15, where we hear about faith. It comes by hearing. And once we have faith, in Hebrews chapter 11 verse 6, we also hear that it is impossible to please God without faith. So you cannot please God without faith, but faith comes by hearing. Now that we are hearing, it's your opportunity to build that faith, to accept him, to come into you. And what happens when he comes into you? The verse continues to say, I will come into him and dine with him, and he with him with you. Now, Jesus wants to dine with you. Jesus wants to be with you. Now, with whom does Jesus dine? Well, if we look at the Last Supper, he was with his disciples. And we hear about one of the 12, which makes me believe that he was with his 12 disciples. And now, why did he not bring everyone else, but only his disciples? Because those are the people whom he dines with. Except, of course, Judas. Judas was among them, being a disciple. He was there simply because he was called a disciple, but he did not deserve to be there in the Last Supper. And Jesus gets so worried about someone who is in the church of God, who is counted amongst his disciples, but the intention is to betray him. The intention is to sin. That was the intention of Judas. That's why if you look at, starting from verse number 23 of Matthew chapter 26, we see that Jesus gets worried about Judas. It says it would have been he says it would have been better if he was not born, because he is counted amongst Jesus' disciples. He is eating, dining with Jesus. But the problem is, he does not qualify. He did not qualify to dine with Jesus. Because you need to get rid of sin to open up the door so he can come into you. So Judas was there, but Jesus was not in him spiritually. Now you need to get rid of that sin. That sin is blocking your healing. That sin is blocking your progress spiritually. That sin, it is stopping Jesus from doing whatever he wants to do in your life and through your life. And maybe you are called the child of God, but still you have that sin that is keeping Jesus outside of your life. Remember we said Adam and Eve, when God came down, as usual, they were no longer in their position. Sin took them away from God. It took that relationship away. God had to ask, where are you? My friend, where are you right now with Jesus? Are you in him, or is he knocking at the door, sitting outside? Maybe it's cold outside. I don't know. But you are the one who needs help. You are the one who needs doctor. God bless you. Jesus Christ is Lord. Amen.